The cupcake was from a gas station, vanilla lopsided and sweating in its plastic shell. I walked into Mark Delaney's office and held it out like a peace offering. "For the man who signs our checks," I said. He laughed to sound like a cough that didn't quite clear. "Well, aren't you thoughtful?" He pointed at the chair across from his desk. "Sit. Got something fun to show you." I sat, smiled, crossed my legs, and waited while he chewed the first bite with too much enthusiasm. He slid a printed spreadsheet across the table toward me. "Your numbers this quarter," he said, tapping it with the side of the plastic knife. "Impressive." The page was color-coded, highlighted, underlined. I'd brought in 62% of the agency's revenue. That wasn't a guess. I'd run my own numbers 3 times. But on the printed sheet, it showed 41%. And next to my biggest account, a new name, Blake Armstrong. I blinked slowly. "Shared credit." He nodded. "Team collaboration is everything, right? And Blake's been doing great relationship work on the back end. You know, wine and dines golf. Synergy. Synergy. That word again. It always showed up before a knife did." Then he dropped it casually. "Payroll says your commission's being revisited. Legal found some discrepancies in how contracts are recorded. Nothing personal, just standard cleanup." His mouth was full of cupcake when he added, "I'm sure we'll have it sorted soon." I nodded, bit my tongue hard enough to taste metal. "Of course," I said. "It'll all work itself out." He smiled like he'd won. I smiled because I'd already seen the trapdoor they forgot they left open. 3 months ago, I wrote Clause 14B into our biggest client's renewal contract. Point of contact changes, nullify auto-renewal. If I was off the account, so was the agency, unless the client re-signed from scratch. I thanked him for the time, and tossed the cupcake wrapper into the trash on my way out. They thought I'd eat that dry cake and say thank you. They forgot my bonus. I remembered everything. 3 months earlier, the office was a graveyard by 8 p.m., except for my desk. Overhead lights flickered with that faint electrical buzz, and outside the Chicago sky had gone the color of old printer paper. Everyone else was gone. Mark was sipping bourbon with other visionaries at a leadership retreat in Scottsdale. Blake was tagging himself at a rooftop bar with clients he couldn't name sober. And I was on Zoom with a lawyer from our biggest client, round 3 of contract negotiations. He spoke in acronyms and clauses, like to test boundaries mid-sentence. "Let's talk hypotheticals," he'd say, when what he meant was, "How do you protect us from your incompetence? We rewrote everything: cancellation policy, IP ownership, net 90 terms." And then came the auto-renewal clause. He raised an eyebrow. "What happens if your rep leaves mid-cycle?" I didn't hesitate. I'd suggest inserting a freeze until the new rep is confirmed. Just to protect both sides. My fingers moved fast. Clause 14B, representative of record transition. In the event that the primary account representative is reassigned, terminated, or no longer acts in an official capacity, auto-renewal shall be paused, pending written reauthorization of new representation. He nodded. "That works." I dropped it quietly, right between a harmless reporting schedule tweak and a line about platform integration, harmless on the surface, lethal if triggered. The client signed the draft 2 days later. Legal barely glanced at it. Mark never saw it. And I never brought it up again, because back then I still believed in reward for loyalty. I still stayed late to fix other people's dashboards, still answered Slack pings on Saturdays, still smiled through Blake's half-jokes about needing a softer tone on client calls. But somewhere between the 4th late-night Uber home and the 12th "we'll revisit bonuses next quarter," something shifted. That clause. It wasn't a threat, it was an exit key. I closed the contract, sent it for signature, then opened a new browser tab, Sole Proprietorship Registration, Illinois. Because they forgot who built the relationship. They moved my name off the contract. I just moved the contract. The office was humming with weekend energy, half-zipped laptop bags, Starbucks cups half full, someone announcing happy hour plans like they were pitching a startup. No one noticed I wasn't packing up. I was staring at my inbox. 2 drafts already written, already timed. The first was addressed to my attorney, subject line, activation confirmation. Attached were the final docs for my LLC, Keller Strategy Partners, registered under my maiden name. Signed lease for a 2-person WeWork suite downtown. onboarding files for a freelance ops lead former COO of a boutique agency who now consults for people like me, the quiet ones with sharp teeth. The second email was to the client, CEO. Subject: moving forward, new representation, polite, brief, no drama. Just the facts I was transitioning. I'd be available Monday to discuss how we could continue working independently. I attached the contact transition clause, in case they needed a reminder. Then I opened a browser tab. Typed in DelaneyBrandingSucks.com, available. I bought it. Redirected it to a blank landing page that simply said, "Not all talent stays silent." I leaned back in my chair. Across the bullpen, Blake was holding court, waving his phone around like it had news from heaven. Locked in dinner with the CMO, he said to no one in particular, "Gonna get that Q4 renewal finalized. Mark says I'm the closer now." Closer. He hadn't written a proposal in 6 months. Hadn't updated a dashboard. He once asked me what CTR meant, but he wore a custom Patagonia vest with the agency logo, and that made him credible. I minimized Slack. Uploaded my final pitch deck to a shared Google Drive I'd named Foundation, just in case. Then I hit send on both emails. No noise, no Slack pings, just silence. A Friday afternoon full of fake wins and real exits. While they toasted another week of almost success, I was already gone. By the time they opened my Friday email, I had already opened an agency. The email hit inboxes at 10:07 a.m. Subject: contract renewal update from VP of Strategic Partnerships, Halverson & Coire. To our valued partners at Delaney Branding, we want to express our appreciation for the past 5 years of collaboration. As of this quarter, we will be transitioning to a boutique agency more aligned with our evolving values. That was it. No call, no warning. Just a neatly worded breakup sent to every exec alias on file. I didn't need to look around to feel the shift. The energy cracked like glass. PR gasped audibly. Someone dropped a mug. Chairs spun. Slack lit up like a slot machine in panic mode. Across the floor, Blake's mouth opened, then closed again, gasping like a trout trying to explain a missed sale. Then came the sound of Mark's office door slamming so hard it shook the frame. Someone whispered he was just with them last week. I took my time finishing my coffee. Then I opened Slack. General, commissions are how you retain talent, not how you blackmail it. I hit send. 3 emoji reactions popped up. Then 11. Then silence. The message disappeared, deleted by admin. I waited 2 beats, then reposted. This time in bold. Attached a screenshot, the missing line in my paycheck, and the timestamp of my unanswered email to payroll from Friday. I added one more note. If I'm wrong, feel free to clarify. I watched it sit for 20 seconds before my email access blinked out. Then my Slack account. Then came the HR message, "Can we chat?" They sent a junior associate to walk me out, barely older than the intern's voice shaking. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "They just told me to." I smiled. Handed her a manila folder. Inside my resignation, a copy of the contract clause, and a letter confirming my title at Keller Strategy Partners. She blinked. "Are you quitting?" I shrugged. "Tell them I'm leaving, but not because they told me to." I grabbed my coat, didn't even glance back at my desk. 5 minutes later, my keycard was revoked. I walked out anyway. The summit smelled like stale ambition and overpriced cologne, wall-to-wall sales bros in Allbirds and zip-up vests, pitching synergy while nursing hangovers from the pre-conference mixer. This was Brandt and Delaney's domain. They'd headlined this summit for years. Keynotes, panels, swag bags stuffed with plastic water bottles and hollow slogans. They always booked the prime real estate center floor, spotlighted, branded with their gold-lettered logo and disruption nonsense. But this year, when they went to renew their booth, it was gone. I'd bought it, quietly, 2 weeks prior, under my new agency's name, Keller Strategy Partners, Booth 3 Hukwase's prime position front and center. I kept it simple, black matte backdrop. Clean white letters, remember who built your brand. No flashing lights, no QR codes, no spin-the-wheel giveaways, just presence. Instead of business cards, we handed out mock pay stubs, identical to Brandt and Delaney's payroll format. Each one stamped commission $0 status under review. Lexi, my new strategist, wore sunglasses indoors, like a bodyguard. Miguel, our data lead, set up a looping video reel time-lapse animations of client migrations dots, flowing from bloated legacy agencies to lean boutique firms like ours. Every 5 seconds, another dot jumped ship. I didn't speak much, just stood there smiling politely, sipping tea. At noon, the energy in the hall shifted. You could feel it before you saw them. Mark arrived first, flanked by execs who looked like they'd been awake for 72 hours. Blake trailed behind, trying not to make eye contact with anyone who might remember the news. Mark's face froze mid-step when he saw our booth. He scanned the backdrop, the tagline, the mock pay stubs. Then his eyes landed on me standing across the aisle, deep in conversation with someone in a navy blazer. It was Halverson and Coto's VP of Partnerships, their biggest former client. We weren't even talking business, just bourbon and dogs, and which speaker was the worst. But Mark wouldn't have known that, because the look on his face said everything. By the time Mark saw the booth, I was laughing with their former client's VP. The email landed in my inbox at 3:12 a.m. No subject line, no sender name, just Strategic Insight 2023@gmail.com. Inside was a single line of text. Figured you'd want to see what they're saying behind closed doors. Attached a zip folder labeled Project Phoenix Final.pptx. I opened it in a secure sandbox, expecting some clumsy cease and desist draft, or maybe a spreadsheet of client poaching accusations. What I found was theater. Brandt and Delaney had launched a full internal campaign codenamed Project Phoenix to reframe my departure. Not as a failure of leadership, but as a disruption incident tied to what they called emotional volatility and insubordination risk. One slide showed a mock LinkedIn post they hoped to push anonymously, important to vet leadership temperament. Not all talent scales. Another outlined a media pitch template. When star employees snapped navigating burnout and betrayal in modern agencies, there was a literal SWOT analysis with my name on it. Strengths: client trust, brand builder, creative thinker. Weaknesses: emotional edge, no MBA, potential NDA violations. Opportunities: undermine credibility with selected clients. Threats: influence with staff, media traction, growing visibility. They even flagged my mental health. That part made me pause. Because when they couldn't control you, they'd rather label you unstable. I didn't feel rage, I felt clarity. I downloaded 2 slides and forwarded them to my team Slack with no caption. Lexi replied first with a screenshot of a burning dumpster. Miguel added a sticker, "Nice try, boys." Arushi just wrote, "So, we're famous now." I leaned back, took a sip of coffee, and watched the thread grow. I didn't need to issue a statement. I didn't need to defend myself. All I had to do was let the facts breathe. They'd prepared for a PR war. They hadn't prepared for receipts. And now their panic was on record. They didn't just forget me. They feared me. I wasn't supposed to be there. But one of the last clients still stuck under contract with Brandt and Delaney, a mid-sized healthcare analytics group I'd nurtured from their seed round, was finally ready to cut ties. Only they wanted a proper audit before doing so. And they didn't trust Brandt to conduct it. They asked for me by name. So I walked back into the building like a ghost wearing heels. The receptionist did a double take. I think they're expecting you." Her voice dropped into that weird, polite uncertainty reserved for funerals and lawsuits. Upstairs, the air was thin. Half the lights were off to save energy. The trophy case near the kitchen was missing its centerpiece. The open floor plan that used to buzz now sat silent desks, half-emptied nameplates turned face down. Slack notifications no longer popped off like fireworks. It was a mausoleum with ergonomic chairs. The conference room hadn't changed. Except this time, I wasn't at the table pitching growth strategy. I was on the other side here to deliver a post-mortem. Mark sat at the head posture, wilted suit wrinkled. His once reliable red tie had a mustard stain near the seam. Blake was slouched 2 seats away, hands clasped like a kid sent to the principal's office. He wouldn't meet my eye. I connected my laptop to the projector. No small talk, no icebreakers, just data. Slide 1, client attrition, 43% loss in 6 weeks. Slide 2, internal resignations, 9 employees including 4 leads, Slide 3, press impact. Wired ink. Adweek mentions all negative. Slide 4, brand sentiment. Down 28% according to Sprout Index. Slide 5, anonymous Glassdoor spike. 17 new one-star reviews. Mark opened his mouth. We'd like to contextualize. No, I said calmly. This isn't a brainstorm. I advanced to the final slide. Slide 6, equity decay. Client trust erosion confirmed in 3 external audits. I closed the laptop. I'm not here to workshop a fix. I'm here to confirm the fallout. No one moved. Even the HVAC system seemed to pause. I looked around once more, taking in the remnants of a firm that used to condescend to me in weekly status updates. It's not a presentation, I said, stepping back. It's an obituary. And I walked out, heels clicking louder than I remembered. I never raised my voice. I didn't write a rage-fueled LinkedIn post or release some dramatic tell-all. That wasn't my style, and honestly, I didn't need to. The whispers did the work. It started with a former intern, now a junior analyst at a competitor. She tweeted a single sentence. Funny how the people who preach scalability couldn't even retain their best account manager. No names, no tags. But everyone in our orbit knew exactly who it was about. Then came the quiet course corrections. A PR rep I used to share coffee breaks with slid into a comment thread, clarifying that I had in fact been the lead on 3 of Brandt's biggest wins, not Blake. An ex-designer posted an Instagram story, just a burning Patagonia vest, and the words, "Never again." No one said my name. No one had to. By Thursday, my inbox pinged with a message from Wired. A journalist had been following the trail, anonymous Glassdoor reviews, Twitter threads, internal leaks. She asked if I'd comment for an upcoming feature on agency culture and executive attrition. I paused, then replied, "Only if I can write the last paragraph." She agreed without hesitation. I opened a blank doc, fingers hovering. What did I want to say? I wasn't interested in revenge. I didn't need pity. I wasn't the first woman to be undercredited and over-relied on, and sadly, I wouldn't be the last. But I knew exactly where their narrative had tried to go. The whole disgruntled diva playbook. The she was difficult too, emotional, not scalable angle. So I wrote one line. That's all I needed. They ran it unedited at the end of the article. They didn't lose me because I snapped. They lost me because they assumed I'd stay quiet. And just like that, the whispers became an echo, louder than any headline. The envelope came on a Thursday, as plain and unmarked as guilt. No return address, just a folded check inside. The number stared up at me like a joke I'd already heard: $38, $200. The exact amount they'd forgotten from payroll. Months late, buried in silence, and now slipped into my life like hush money. The memo line simply read, "Final commission settlement." No letter, no apology, no signature. I didn't hesitate. I cashed it, then I split it. 6 people, my team, my circle, the ones who built this thing beside me from Dropbox folders and secondhand laptops. Lexi, Miguel, Arushi, our 2 part-time analysts, and a freelance strategist named Nora, who'd once told me she hadn't seen a Christmas bonus in 8 years. Each of them received an equal slice of the payout. No explanation. Just a direct deposit titled, "Forget Me Not Bonus." They got the message. With what remained, I bought a ghost. On page 5 of an asset liquidation site, buried between broken monitors and discontinued office chairs, I saw the listing, item 147, custom oak conference table. 12 at tier, minor damage. Brass plaque removed? I knew it instantly. The table where I was told I lacked polish. Where Blake presented my work with his name on the cover. Where Marky once said, "We'll revisit bonuses after Q2. I bought it, paid in full. Had it shipped to our new office, a sunlit space above a bookstore that still smelled like fresh ink and possibility. It arrived with the corners dented, varnish dull. Miguel and I spent the weekend sanding it down. Lexi brought in black coffee and a playlist called Revenge in lowercase. We worked in silence. By Monday, it gleamed. After the team left, I stayed behind. Took a small wood-burning tool, crawled beneath the table, and etched 5 quiet words into the grain. She remembered everything. I didn't need a logo. Didn't need a brand slogan or glass plaque. I had legacy in oaken scars and memory. Because this table, once a symbol of erasure, now sat at the center of something new. Earned, not granted. It used to be their table. Now it's our foundation. It came on a Wednesday, mid-morning, calendar stacked, inbox pulsing. And there it was, an email from the same summit that once gave Branton Delaney the center stage, while I stood in the back row watching Mark smirk through his keynote. Subject: Keynote Opportunity, Women Founders on the Rise Body. We'd love to feature your story this year. A keynote slot just opened. Your agency's journey has inspired so many, let's give them the blueprint. I didn't ask who dropped out, I already knew. 12 months ago, I walked out of that building with no press release, no investors, and no co-founder. Just a laptop, a rented WeWork desk, and a list of names I'd written down over 5 years. People who mattered, people I treated like more than stepping stones. Now Keller Strategy Partners had 17 staffers. A 6-month waitlist. A tech stack smoother than anything Brandt ever paid consultants to build. Our retention rate was 94%. Our Glassdoor rating 5 stars, with one angry outlier that Miguel swore was Blake using a burner. And the press. They couldn't get enough. Inc. called us a masterclass in strategic rebellion. Adweek listed me as a top voice for ethical leadership. Wired ran a follow-up, not quiet, just done. The same day the summit invite came in, so did something else. An email from Blake. Subject: Coffee. Hey, hope you're well. Read the piece, Wild Times, no bad blood from me. Thought maybe we could grab a drink, catch up, swap notes. Who knows, maybe even team up again, could be fun. Hope you're thriving. He added a winking emoji, the kind that used to make interns gag. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to the team subject line, team building exercise, spot the parasite. Lexi replied with a PowerPoint slide titled, Why Absolutely Not. Miguel sent a poll, rate Blake's survival chances in our org culture, a slim B, none C, negative equity. Arushi just wrote, Sir, this is a W2 environment. I closed the thread and looked around the office. Sunlight on hardwood floors, voices laughing softly. A whiteboard filled with plans we actually wanted to build. No buzzwords, no manipulation, just people paid well, seen fully. Next month, I'd take that summit stage not to perform, but to remind them what happens when you underestimate the quiet one. They tried to erase me, but I kept the receipts and built an empire on the margin they never paid.